First, though, should Starmer back Trump or the EU in the trade war? We're taking your calls, 020-7862-2222. The US president has caused a global stir by saying he will impose tariffs on goods coming into the United States, risking a trade war. So far, we've swerved it. We haven't been named among the countries being targeted. Maybe we're not important enough. Number 10 is reportedly preparing for the moment Trump turns his fire on the UK. But what do we mean by tariffs? Let's just have a look at how tariffs actually work. And we're going to use a pair of jeans. So these are actually real jeans here, but let's use them to explain how tariffs work. Okay? So these are I'm sort of thinking I want a pair of these. We're going to call these jeans, what should we call them? The denim, here we are, the real denim Manfinity jeans made in France. That's perfect. That's a catchy name. Real denim. Now, why is it called denim? Answer. Serge de Nîmes in French means material from Nîmes. There's Nîmes. De Nîmes is how you get the word denim. So denim should be from there, right? So Nîmes, which is there, denim should really be from that city. And this is relevant to what we're discussing because tariffs start to get into that whole situation of where stuff comes from. So how Trump tariffs might affect the Manfinity jeans is what we're looking at now. Here's France. Put the jeans down south in Nîmes. They're being made in Nîmes, de Nîmes, okay? Here's a lad in, Florida. He's going to buy them. He buys them. The customs officer gets involved. Trump says to the customs officer, I want you to put 25% on them. So he increases, that's the tariff, 25. And he says, no way, I don't want them. So he'll buy that pair because he's ordered them. He's not going to buy another pair. Here's the thing. Trump is hoping that as a result of that tariff there, America starts making its own denim. That's what he wants. But, unfortunately, France then sues for breach of copyright. Also, he's not impressed because he wants the real ones, de Nîmes, from France. And then, thirdly, France introduces its own tariffs on the USA. So that's how it works. And also, Io, how it doesn't work as well, because it might not go well for Trump.
No. I think at the moment it feels like he's just threatening and playing bully with all these countries, from Mexico to Canada. And I kind of...
I think he's going to do it. Do you think so? I mean, it's as of now, I think he's doing it.
To them, but not to us.
Us, we may not matter.
We're not on firing line yet.
He hasn't mentioned Madagascar either, but the fact that we haven't been mentioned isn't necessarily a good thing. What do you think? Do you think this is going to work, or is he going to get into the situation with the denim where actually all it does is it increases the price of the jeans to Americans, France then attacks him back, and the Americans don't make the denim anyway?
And that's the key point. I think that 25% tariff, or whatever percentage you might want to slap on anyone else, that cost is effectively going to be passed on to the consumer. So people ultimately will end up paying more, which isn't obviously what you want from your government. But when there is such, I think, support behind the Donald, and he is at his strongest at this moment in time, having just been re-elected, and he can talk about the mandate that he's got time and time again, he can afford to do this. And I think there is now going to be a battle of, the business folk, So he is clearly a single-minded businessman. Ursula von der Leyen, I remember, sort of said immediately after his sort of election, well, we'll need to negotiate with the, with America, because obviously they didn't want to have these tariffs imposed on them. But that kind of signalled what kind of a bad deal maybe America got under the last administration, which is why, the EU were prepared to have a conversation.
Well, let's see. I mean, I don't know whether this means we should be in the EU to protect ourselves or whether we're better off out of it. Coincidentally, the Prime Minister is meeting European leaders today amid claims that he's cozying up to the EU, but he's also been warned that trying to deal with the European Union could damage his chances of a trade deal with Trump. And this is what Trump had to say about Keir Starmer.
Well, Prime Minister Starmer has been very nice. We've had a couple of meetings. We've had numerous phone calls. We're getting along very well. And we'll see whether or not we can balance out our budget.
So he's kind of left us out of it for the time being. But Starmer has said, this is very early days. But I don't know if it is early days. This is now happening. You look worried.
Well, I think it's going to be a really challenging position for the UK because we want to build a relationship after leaving Brexit. We want to build a relationship with the EU because we need to have allies when it comes to trade, security. That's really going to be important.
Don't we need to just pretend we never met them? I mean, just from the point of view, you say, We don't know who the EU are. They're nothing to do with us. That, there's a fight going on between the USA and the EU. We're not involved.
But I don't think we want to lose allies. I think think Starmer is doing the right thing by building that relationship. I think we need allyship. I think, especially when you talk about security and defence, I think that EU relationship is one that's important to foster. Obviously, it's going to be a real tight negotiation managing that with the US and the threat of tariffs. But we have to make a really, really fine line negotiation. The UK needs to have allies in the EU. We need to build that relationship.
All right. Okay, understood. But that's the question, is whether we should be trying to do a separate deal with Trump here. David in Cumbria, hi.
Hi, Jeremy. How are you?
I'm well. Is this just one of these moments where you think Brexit has gone really well for us?
Well, I think the key question is, does Starmer want our people to have more money in their pockets? And that's and growth and everything else.
Well,
if he does, if he does, therefore he's got to side with America, because the EU is going to tootle along like the UK at 1 to 1.5% growth, while America's going to grow at 5, 6, 7%, even with tariffs.
Yeah, but surely EU's a bigger trading partner of ours, and they are next door, and we have to try to get our trade going with them again after a difficult time.
Yeah, I think trading with the EU is perfectly acceptable, but at the end of the day, who do you side with? The person that's going to give you the most growth or the least growth?
What do you think about that? David put his finger on it, that America's the future.
Well, I think when you're in a situation whereby you're caught in the middle of the two, that's a golden opportunity, actually, because I think you'd be saying to America, look, you've slapped tariffs on the EU, they'll slap tariffs on you. So that's why Donald Trump, I think, is being very polite to the UK Prime Minister. I think he knows his business. But also, if Starmer was really political about it, he'd be saying, well, you know what, we're not going to come into this customs union with the EU. We're going to do our own trade agreements with the EU to get bang for our buck, and America. And I think if he was politically savvy enough to balance those two relationships by sort of not getting involved in either camp, but managing that politically, I think it'd be quids in.
But the EU, you talk about the EU as if it's inert. What we discovered from Brexit is that it can be malicious, frankly. We have been waterboarded for 10 years. And I mean, maybe that's absolutely acceptable. We chose to leave, and they chose to show what they thought of it. But I don't know. I think Trump will probably give us a decent deal to annoy the EU. Probably. Are you happy to be used like that?
Totally.
Are you? Absolutely. Are you happy to be?
If it gets
I think it's good politics to leverage what position we're in to get the best deal from the US. And I think, the one risk I think about doing this is, Donald Trump is known for being a little categorical. He says things and his actions don't align. So to be fair, when you're negotiating with someone like that, that's kind of bad faith negotiation. Yeah. So I think Starmer is good to keep that EU in our back pocket while negotiating with the US and making sure that we get the best of both camps and utilising their own animosity for the good of Great Britain, which is the whole point.
Yeah, what an interesting point. Okay, thank you, David, very much. Angela on Merseyside, hi.
Hi, how are you doing again today, Jeremy?
Well, we're doing well, thank you so much, and just wondering whether this might all work in our favour somehow now that we're out of the EU.
Well, I look at American politics a lot.
Yes.
Right? So, let's think about this. He's in the country now, he's broken all the systems, he's sacked people in different areas, they are not going to check the quality of the food or anything that we get. The Americans themselves are terrified about their water quality and everything. He's trying to rush people through into jobs. The chap that's just gone in over the army used to be a weekend host on Fox.
Pete Hegseth, yeah.
Now,
but he did. He was also he was a soldier as well. Yeah, he was a soldier as well, to be fair. Yeah.
So you've got a system breaking down and you want to deal with it, right? You have got to stand together. We've got to stand with Canada, Mexico. Let's trade amongst ourselves.
So what you think take a stand against Trump is what you think?
Well, if that'll be a tick off his box if he gets Starmer, bang. Just
why
like
not?
That.
Why not let him get us? Because what we want is, don't we want a decent trade deal with the States with no tariffs, and we could, suddenly we can be pleased we left the EU.
So you want tariffs and you want to take products off them that are defected. They're not checked.
Yeah, it's the chlorinated chicken is what we come down to, isn't it, Charlie?
No,
Once we have tariff-free trade,
more than that.
More than that.
But it's going to be.
Okay.
It's going to be more than that. He's broken all the systems in America.
Well, he's only started. No, in fairness, he's only just arrived, Angela. You're anticipating.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You think he might? Don't you think it might work out the second run?
He does not change his. If he gets you, he's going to hammer you later on down the line.
All right. Oh God. Okay, fine. There we are. Yes. He's an unreliable ally, I think is what Angela's saying. Thanks, Angela. Bless you. After the break, we're taking more of your calls. What can we do here to get a good deal for Britain? Now, your calls on Starmer's choice between the EU and Donald Trump. Whose side do you think he should take if it comes down to that? By coincidence, he's with the EU at the moment. He's already been trolled a little bit. I don't know if you saw this by President Macron, who says the fact that you're here with us shows that Brexit has failed. And he may be thinking, no, it doesn't, because you're about to get completely walloped by Trump, and we're standing aside. Elizabeth in London, what should Starmer do?
Well, I just want to say, if anything happens to your job, please take up teaching, because you've explained it to me, and I think you're a gifted teacher. Anyway.
My dad was a teacher, actually. Thank you. Very kind.
What should Starmer do? Starmer's actually playing it quite well. I kind of dissatisfied with him. I'm a Labour voter, but I think he's playing it quite well at the moment because he's not giving anything away. Of course, we must look after our neighbours first. It doesn't matter about the past. It's really important. Look, I am sick of this Trump fest. I quite liked Trump until recently, but we're going Trump mad. He's not Pope Trump. He's Donald Trump, you know?
Okay, here's an example. What if Starmer were to say to Trump, if you come for the EU, you come for Britain as well, because we stand with the EU. So you slap tariffs on them, you slap them on us. How about that for heroic stand?
No, that's daft. That's daft broking. I think what we have to do is just hold our own and not be bullied. I think Trump's testing the waters to see how far he can get. I think that we've got to look to Europe because they're our neighbour and we like their food and we quite like them. And we have to hold our own with Trump.
Right.
If we did what Trump's done with McDonald's and decided to charge ridiculous prices and make our own McDonald's, they'd go out of business. We have a symbiotic relationship with America. They need us as much as we need them. Everything is American. We're completely over-Americanized. So don't pretend. Just get a grip about what's going on. It's just all sales pitch at the moment.
All right, Elizabeth, thank you. Well, Starmer said it's early days. I'm not convinced yet. See, I think what's happened is his people were saying to him, Elizabeth, look, if you win, you've got to start on day one. You've got to do, and he literally did, because he started signing those orders on day one. So they thought, we're not going to do like 2 months just having dinners and stuff. We're straight in. And they've been planning it for 4 or 5 years. I know there's a thing called Project 25. I don't know if that's true or not. But obviously this stuff has all been ready to roll. So he's not hanging about. So John in Gloucestershire, where should we stand? Should we criticise America?
Good morning. No, Jeremy, not at all. I would say we shouldn't align ourselves with Europe. Europe is a failed project. Their GDP is way, way down after the failing of the sanctions with the Ukraine war. If we could, I would back China, because their gross domestic product per year is 7.5 trillion, as opposed to America's 21.5. It's East versus West. It's two superpowers. And if I had to choose, it would be America, not Europe. Europe's failed. Yeah, and Starmer...
China export very cheaply. And that's why Trump is so angry, because he feels Americans just buy loads of cheap Chinese stuff and they get nothing back for it.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, America for many, many years has been doing well through their their reserve currency, their petrodollar, and they've really closed all their manufacturing down over the years, living off the reserve currency.
That's it. Thanks, John, very much. Gordon in Shropshire. Hi, Gordon.
Hello.
So we're in an interesting position here. Should we just keep our heads down or what?
No, we should go with Trump.
Go with Trump. There we are, Io. Go with Trump. No?
Yeah, without a doubt. We were in the EU, and when we left the EU, they punished us.
Yeah, they unquestionably. Yeah.
Yeah, they did. They actually used to. When we were leaving, they were selling off, getting companies to leave the UK and move elsewhere.
Yes. Yeah.
They've never done us any favours.
Well, arguably they did. But we left, though, Gordon. I think we left, so maybe they had a right to punish us.
The problem was they negotiated for us, and we didn't get a good deal. They failed. The EU, as far as I'm concerned, failed. Trump's a big boy. Trump will prevail without a doubt, and he likes the UK.
He does.
Unfortunately, he's not that keen on this government.
I think, yeah, that's true. I think it's true, Charlie, that we may be saved because he is Scottish. He's got Trump World up in Scotland, and he likes the UK. I think he does. He liked our Queen. I love your Queen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I think, if he keeps slapping on these tariffs on all other countries like Mexico and Canada, Trump's going to need a friend and should have a friend in the UK. So this might be the one time, I never thought I would say this, Jeremy, but this might be the one time we need our Prime Minister to just be the lawyer that he is, which is just take it as it comes. You don't need to pick a side. You can obviously say to our friends in America, I could be a bit of a negotiating pawn for you with Europe, but also to confront Europe and say, don't attack the dollar, don't attack America. Actually, we've all got to step up our defences and then spending here. So he could be actually in a very, very strong position if he balances both whilst protecting British interests and getting a good trade deal with the UK, with the US and with Europe.
John in Manchester, hi.
Hi, Jeremy. We should not... He's a megalomaniac, this fool, Trump.
Well, we know that. We have to price that in, right?
mean, if we don't stand up to him and he makes Canada the 51st state, he wants Greenland.
Yep, Panama Canal.
So if we don't stand up to him, he'll try and set Greenland. What's next? Does he want Mexico? And you're on about trade deals. People are buying stuff from China and he's annoyed about it. Where does Trump get all his merchandise made?
China.
Every single hat is made in China.
Yeah.
He's a hypocrite.
I know. Well, no, I mean, I know in the sense that I know I've seen the MAGA hats are made in China. Yeah, that's true. I don't know if they still are. But then that's the whole point, isn't it, John? What he wants to do is make it too expensive to import MAGA hats from China so that then someone in America says, right, we can now make a profit. And he set up a factory and he employed 200 people. And that's how it works. But then in the 1800s, we had the Corn Laws. You'll know all about this. I'm looking at you as the sort of person.
I was there.
You were there.
Yes, yeah.
So should we just do 30 seconds on the repeal of the Corn Laws? Was all about we make our own corn and we sell our corn to ourselves, and that's how we get bread. And then we have, in the 1800s, trade starts. And we start to be able to get cheaper corn from overseas. And the question is, should we let it in? And the immediate thought is, no way. It's better if we make our own corn and we sell our own corn to ourselves. But then working people started to say, wait a minute, bread is getting too expensive. We need the cheaper corn. And the landowners said, no, we want to make the corn so you can have our... And that took 30, 40 years to resolve. And in the end, they did repeal the Corn Laws, and we did have free trade, and the cheaper corn came in, and bread got cheaper, and the landowners had to find something else to do. It took a long time to sort out, but we're back there. We thought the argument had been won by free trade, but maybe not.
But it's globalisation versus protectionism.
Exactly.
Right.
And actually, you know what? Protectionism gets elected. I mean, that's the key thing. Thank you for your calls. What an interesting time in world history we're in.